Hey, sorry about that, guys. So I had to break up the video again. Yeah, I wasn't able to locate the API that I was looking for in terms of the permissions. So it turns out that it has a long list. I need to browse further down. So yeah, yeah, as you can see right there. So if we type it right here, I think it has to be literal Azure Healthcare APIs. That's the one that we're looking for. So we'll select that. And we will select the permission sets, which is user impersonation. And we'll also select delegated permissions. All right, there it is. I don't know what was wrong there, but I wasn't getting the add permissions button activated. But yeah, we'll click on add permissions. All right, so yeah, there you see that's the permission set that we added. So we're good there. And we'll move on to the next steps, which is testing our Fire API that we have created here. So for that, we'll go to Postman, and what we need to do here is we will need to get the capability statement that is tied to our application that we created, the application resource which we created. So we can quickly jump right back and go to home. And go to our CS644 demo. And that's our capability statement. So that's the URL against which we will make our GET request. And if we do send, yep, there it is. We see all of our metadata. So that's what we want to see. I mean, the initial testing is successful, but when we start building apps, we start interacting with all the different uh, data types, right? Not just the metadata. I mean, we would need access to patient data and the ID and diagnostics, so on and so forth. So by default, that doesn't work, and we would need to get access to that. And how do we do that is through requesting a token. So before doing that, if we just try to query the patient endpoint, we get a 401 unauthorized. So this is something that we need to fix. So under authorization, we change this to auth 2.0. Then we change this to request headers. And then we start filling in all of these options here in order to authenticate against the API modules using our centralized Georgia Tech credentials, which is again a two-factor based authentication. And once we're able to authenticate, we will get a token. And we need to save that token and then try to access the patient data, and we should be able to do that. So we go to manage token. So yeah, before that, I think we can fill up all of these things here. So we need to give this token a name, and authorization code is fine. And in the callback URL, we would need to enter our Postman URL that we configured earlier. So we can get that either from the entry that we made earlier, or we can even type it out again. That's not a problem. So I'm just trying to open up my notes on the other screen. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, so yeah. So this is the callback URL that we specified in the registered app settings. So that would be get postman.com h2 slash callback, and over here we see that we have pre-filled entries from my previous test runs. That was the other resource that I created, so that just makes life easier a little bit. All we need to do is we need to change the client ID, the tenant ID, and the client ID, and the application URL name, which we already have here. So the tenant ID would be this. You know what? I just realized we're using the same Active Directory tenant, so it remains the same. That's even better. So all we need to do is change this, which is CS6440 demo.azurehealthcareapis.com, and of course the client ID would be different because this is a new application. And rest everything we leave it as it is. We just enter a random state code to handle any exceptions, and we select send client credentials in body. We clear cookies to get rid of any previous communications, and we click on get new access token. So yep, this is where we enter our Georgia Tech credentials to get onto our Azure resources. Looks fine to me. Okay, so there's a few levels of authentication that I need to take care of. I do that. I get my dual push for two-factor. I approve my push request, and we need to accept that. FHIR demo app. Oops. Okay, okay, so what we'll do is, since this video is getting a little longer, I'll try to troubleshoot this and I'll resume in another video in just a moment. Thanks.